Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my May 2020 horoscope report for you. I am over the moon excited to announce the launch of my new book, Planetology: How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. And this is published through Watkins Media in the UK, and facilitating distribution worldwide is our partner, Penguin Random House. You can look up Annie Planetology in any search and you will find it for pre-order, and you can get more information about it. I'm very excited, and I hope it really helps you because that's the intention of my creating it. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction here, just about some general things to know, and then we'll get into some a lot of sign-specific things, really focused on Venus retrograde, where it's going to show up for your sign, and the special things to know about that, and also where this June 5th eclipse is going to show up in your chart. This is really critical because we are entering eclipse season very hot and heavy as of May. You might start to see eclipse manifestations even in April, 6 to 8 weeks before. The eclipses tend to get very hot, and we've got this grand finale of the Capricorn Cancer eclipse cycle. So lots of things involving home and work, and as we see now with what's going on with the coronavirus and all of the breakdown of things in the world that seem to be related to the coronavirus, but really all of this is astrological. A lot of topics of home and work and working from home and distance, everything about distance and distancing is coming up in a big way. So this eclipse cycle is going to bring a lot of information about how this is all going to go. Definitely stay tuned. After this video, I will be putting at the end my video called The Astrology of 2020, and that's going to be my input on the coronavirus as it relates to the astrology, things that are going on with the systems in the world, and how I believe we can make the most of the opportunities that are coming and deal with the challenges that are also here. Okay, so definitely listen for that after this video. So there are 3 eclipses, one on June 5th, a lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. Then we have on June 21st a solar eclipse at 0 degrees of Capricorn. And then we have on July 5th a lunar eclipse at 13 degrees of Capricorn. Okay, so in the May report, I'm going to show you where this June eclipse is happening. In the June report, I'm going to talk about the locations of the second June eclipse, where that is going to be for you. And in the July report, I'll talk about the location of the July eclipse. Okay, so between 3 horoscopes, we'll cover all of the energies, how that's going to look for you. Venus retrograde is very, very major right now because we are actually in it May 13th through June 25th. Venus, the ruler of love and relationships, money and finances, and beauty and self-esteem and design projects and artistic expression. Major rulership of the domains of Venus are coming up in a big way. And I have created lots of resources for you, including a Venus retrograde blog that you can find if you just search for Annie Botticelli Venus retrograde. You'll find all of these resources that I have. And in these May videos, I am going to show you in the chart where that is for you. I've had a lot of requests to go back to the format where I show you the charts and show you more specific detail for the early, middle, and late degree placements, what certain things look like. From the last eclipse cycle, I had some terrible endings that happened then that I had to work with, so I wasn't able to put the extra time in with doing the charts, but now in this month I'm bringing them back. So definitely please let me know if you want me to keep doing that, because I do listen to your feedback. I listen to nice feedback. If people are mean, I don't listen to them. So anything nicely worded, I definitely take into consideration. So we've got a really very important month here. 2020 is one of the most pivotal years of our time. And so May is another cog in the wheel of this time. So I'm going to go into a lot of those details of what that Venus retrograde specifically is going to look like. So let's go ahead and drill down to this sign specific. Oh wait, one more thing. I am creating a free course on claiming victory from viruses. Okay, this topic is very near and dear to my heart, which I will explain in detail in the actual course, why I know so much about this. Spirit has been prepping me to assist with viruses for a while, and there's just way too much information on this topic for me to bring out in the videos. So I'm going to create a whole class about this that I'll continue adding to. So you can register for that class at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. Search for Luminous Life Multiversity in my name, and you can see there in the free course listings that you can enroll in the school and in the course for free, so that you can understand how to protect yourself from viruses, understand what they're doing. And I also will go into quite a bit of detail about the bigger picture of how viruses are part of our human evolution and how to work with them in the video called Astrology of 2020 that will follow this video. Okay, so now let's go into the sign-specific movement of Venus retrograde and what types of implications we can see from this, and that placement of the June 5th eclipse for you.
Hello Pisces friends. Okay, we're going to focus this video on where Venus retrograde is going to be for you and what types of things you can expect and how you can best use this energy. We're also going to talk a little bit about the eclipses, and these are definitely relevant, as I always say, because we often feel the evidence and the results and the effects from the eclipses weeks or months early. Okay, so May is pure striking distance, you know, for the June eclipses and even for the July eclipse. So I'm going to show you where in the chart the first one of those three is going to show up for you. In order to make the most of the information I'm going to give you, we need to know where in the Pisces spectrum you are. So the sign is split up in three. Early Pisces are February born, or 0 to 9 degrees, and this reading is also valid for all Pisces moon, Pisces rising, Pisces sun, whatever Pisces placement you're looking for. This will hold a piece of your bigger astrological picture. Middle degree friends, March 1st through 10th, or those days roundabout, or 10 to 19 degrees. And late Pisces, March 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. The reason I say days roundabout is because the sun doesn't move into each zodiac sign on the same day every year. So that, you know, can get toggled a little bit, but these are roundabout ranges that should hold true. Now, if you missed something in this, please rewind it rather than asking me if you're early, middle, or late, because I have so many things to respond to that if there's an answer in the video, then it would help me if you could find it there. So you can just rewind it and use my chart that I gave you. All right, so let's talk about Venus retrograde. Venus is going retrograde from May 13th through June 25th. There is a shadow period from April 9th until May 13th for the pre-transit shadow. Okay, so we have 4-9, it's April 9th until May 13th, which is the actual retrograde, through June 25th. Okay, that's the actual retrograde. And then this post-retrograde transit shadow goes to the end of July, like the last couple of days in July. Now, I just want to clear up something. Somebody said in a post, just in case anyone else has this misunderstanding. The person said in the post, I am not buying into shadow periods of retrogrades. Okay, so let me help you understand. Shadow periods of retrogrades are not an Annie-made thing. I did not create shadow periods. Shadow periods are mathematical calculations that anyone that knows how to calculate them will see them. And they are specific to the degree that the planet started retrograde and the degree that it ends its retrograde and goes direct. These are calculated, they're mathematical, they're predictable. I may be the only person really talking about them because, first of all, it's a royal pain. Second of all, a lot of people doing astrology don't even know about them. And third of all, because people who do know about them usually don't want to confuse people. And, you know, they're more, you know, mainstream in the way of the, you know, trying to cater to not going into detail. But I'm not worried about that because I'm an astrology teacher. An astrological teacher wants to teach you about this and not gloss over it. Okay, so basically there's 4 months of Venus retrograde. It's critical to know that because in the shadow periods, the types of things that come up with the retrograde will also be present in the shadow period with increasing strength at the beginning and then decreasing strength at the post. Okay, so something else interesting to note is that the house in which Venus is going to be showing retrograde energies for Pisces is also the sign in which is going to be showing retrograde, which means you guys are getting a double helping of the energy of Venus in Gemini and the third house. All right, so let's just look at this. So 21 degrees back to 5 degrees. Okay, so for early friends, 21 degrees is going to be somewhere in there, back to 5. So you all will have 4th and 3rd house. 3rd house is ruled by Gemini, so the fact that Venus is in Gemini, that's what I mean about this double helping. You're having it retrograde through the sign and house, so this is of critical importance. Middle degree friends, you also will have this third and fourth house, but the predominance of the experience for you will be in the third house. And then you late degree friends, you will have this entirely in the third house. And if you wind up resonating with anything I say about the fourth house manifestations, it's possible you have other things going on in the fourth house of your chart that could be bringing that, but from the Venus retrograde perspective, that's not where it's dancing for you. Okay, so now, what does it mean? What goes on when Venus is in retrograde in Gemini or the third house? Because remember, for early, middle, and late degree placements, third house is you're all having that. And then it's the early and middle degree placements that will also have this fourth house, and we'll talk about both of those manifestations. Okay. So the third house rules communication. So anything with how you're wired for communicating, communicating conflicts within financial relationships, love relationships, or beautiful fruition. Any work that we do, we're moving along an evolutionary scale. So any work that we do where we really heal something, the retrogrades have a chance to bring us wonderful things from what we already did. So you might see money come from work you did in the past. Writing projects, ways that you used your expression from the past may surface again or bring things back to you. Love from the past can come back. Blessings in love from the past can come back. But also unresolved issues with how you communicate and with your money world and your love world and your self-esteem world are very likely to come up. Okay, so third house also rules devices and like things you use for communication and things you use for transportation. So cars, boats, all of those things. So here are some general rules. Now, I'm going to give you some little tidbits, but please watch my Venus retrograde video, read my Venus retrograde series on my blog, and I'll put those links in the notes below this video so you can have easy access to them. But I'll give you a couple tidbits here, okay? So in general, the only time buying anything notable, meaning, like expensive, a big stretch for you, is indicated during Venus retrograde, is if it's really inexpensive, because Venus retrograde is a bargain hunter's delight. You may find amazing bargains. So if you're getting a smoking deal, then that's amazing. And then if you're not going to miss the money, then spend away. Okay, so if you're going to make a purchase, like an important purchase, if you're spending wisely and not wildly, that's a piece. And if you're sure you're not going to regret the expense, then, those are kind of some guidelines to use. I know that life doesn't stop in these times, and I do know that issues tend to come up, so you're going to have to address them. So you don't have to necessarily be afraid to buy, just use those guidelines. Okay, so some topics that will naturally come up and some great proactive questions that you can explore when Venus is retrograde in your third house. Now, mind you, again, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com to see the Venus retrograde blog if you want a visual of the information that I'm giving you here. Okay, so is how you're communicating getting you to where you want to be in work and career, in your creative expression, in your relationships? Are there financial opportunities with your relatives? Okay, relatives like step relatives, siblings, aunts, uncles, grandparents, cousins are ruled by the third house. So sometimes love, like your love, not obviously not your love meaning you love them, not a romantic relationship with your relatives, but so your relationships with your relatives or a financial relationship or opportunity with your relatives can come up, okay? And so another question that comes up is how are you spending money as it relates to your communication and phones and computers, and how are you using your communication devices? How can you use them better and more efficiently? Could they be used more lucratively? Could you be using devices that you have that you're spending money on more lucratively? How are you spending your money as it relates to vehicles and transportation? Obviously, we're undergoing a massive transition in human history, and I will speak to that in a video called The Astrology of 2020, which I will have at the end of this video with everything going on with the coronavirus and all of that. But the topic of how people are spending money and how we're, transporting ourselves as things are in a major reconstruction mode, it's a very big deal. So this Venus retrograde is also part of that, streamlining your finances. How are you using money involving transportation? Does it make sense for you to, have a different way of doing that? Okay, so some resources that I love when Venus is retrograde here, based on the types of things that tend to come up, is a book called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Also, anything that you do on learning how to use your devices more, learning how to make the most of your devices or your cars, like even reading the instruction manuals, those are some kinds of things that you can find out, like whoever really reads them, right? It's very rare. But you might find that you have extra warranties available to you. You might have, features that you weren't aware of. Okay, so now let's talk about the fourth house. Now, even though you late degree friends aren't going to be having Venus here, you can still stay tuned, because if you have anything coming up in your chart with a fourth house focus, then these topics may turn out to be helpful for you as well. Okay, so since the fourth house rules home and family, topics involving money and your relationships with home and family and real estate are going to be more likely to come up. Okay, so family houses, spousal house ownership, things like this. People have desperate urges to renovate their property during Venus retrograde. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this, because especially when it's in the fourth house. All right. So major renovations that involve design aspects and lots of money are not usually the best indicated. Okay. So I'm saying usually because I want you to trust your intuition and your own flow, because each person's relationship with these, the myriad factors involved in their personal astrology can supersede some of the general things that we recommend. But it is important to know that we're not seeing clearly when it comes to design projects when Venus is in retrograde. So redoing your house, a house reconstruction, if it's really expensive and, you only have one chance at it, maybe use the retrograde to feel into colors, make vision boards of the types of things you want to have, research places to get the types of things you want. Think about things. But for the actual renovation, you may want to wait till the energy is clear, okay? And this is another big, huge thing, so please hear this. If you are going through a separation with your partner that involves a separation of house and, estate affairs, or you're doing something with your family where you're splitting up inheritances, many people in Venus retrograde are not seeing clearly involving money, and many people will say, just take it all. I want to get away from you crazy people. I'll forfeit my part and step away from money or resources that they have that are technically theirs. All right? Try to not do this. And it's not like I'm discouraging someone from doing something they feel is good for them, or that, to step away from a toxic situation. Sometimes those things are indicated. But I've watched this over 20 years. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. And I've seen it so many times that in Venus retrograde, someone getting a divorce or splitting up these things will just say, forget it, I'm going to take the easy way out, I don't want to step out of it. And then afterwards they're like, oh damn, I wish I had that money. So I'm trying to save you from it. So just know that if you can kind of put off, postpone, stretch out making a decision about the house, the money, the real estate, it may be helpful to you, okay? And if you get the urge to renovate or do things, if you can do low stakes things, things that don't cost that much money or would be easy to change, so that you can follow your flow and your passion if you want to get some decoration things, but just know that there's a chance those things might have a shorter shelf life than you thought they would. And if that doesn't matter, then that's okay. All right, so some questions you can ask proactively, or things that may naturally come up during Venus retrograde through the fourth house are: how is your childhood affecting, limiting, or accentuating your current relationship? The paradigms that we have from our childhood imprinting are paramount when it comes to our current relationships. Okay, so childhood, the fourth house is also the house of the childhood that we tend to remember that period of time. So our money psychology, our relationship psychology, patterns in money, patterns in relationship, Venus retrograde is very likely to bring them up, for better and worse. Okay, where can you apply forgiveness for the sake of your own health and happiness and for the sake of others? This is a big piece. A family member might need you. How can you have a relationship that's healthy with your family members while honoring yourself and honoring them? Okay, do you need help from a family member? And maybe it's time to ask them for that. Or cash in on something they had offered you that you maybe were too stubborn to accept. How can you be fair and balanced with what you need help with and how you honor yourself and the other person? How can you create more coherence in your home space? Okay, so this can have to do with feng shui. This can have to do with other space clearing and clutter clearing. The focus on your house, home, and space is going to be very increased, especially for your early and middle degree placements. Okay, so things that I recommend during the retrograde in the 4th house are counseling, individual and family and couple, using any modalities like EMDR or NLP or EFT. You can look these all up by their acronyms online for doing inner work to heal those that programming that I told you about. Okay, you can do things to help the magic return to your current relationship. So if you've been busy with your life and ignoring your spouse because life has been crazy, sometimes Venus retrograde will bring an opportunity for you to get reacquainted with your partner and to, give some energy to that relationship. And then also buying these inexpensive home improvement things or working on a home improvement project with your spouse or, anything like that. So some resources that I recommend for Venus retrograde through the 4th house are a book called Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. This was one of the first books that I read and really followed on how forgiveness can be such a powerful tool for creating happiness in our lives. The Presence Process by Michael Brown is like a huge piece of inner work. And in the crazy times that we're in, the more we can put energy into inner work with some of this free time that people might be having from work, it's really going to go a long way to see the positives and to work through the emotion of the challenges that come. And then there's a prayer called the Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. This is a Hawaiian prayer. It's actually Samoan, which preceded when the Samoans weren't not yet on the Hawaiian Islands. And so you can look this up. It's very simple to do. And this prayer, I like to do this over a 28-day moon cycle, because I tend to link things to the astrology. This Ho'oponopono is a forgiveness prayer that can help you to heal yourself and your relationships. So an affirmation that I created for this 4th house retrograde is, I look upon the past with eyes of forgiveness and a heart full of gratitude. Okay, I look upon the past with eyes of forgiveness and a heart full of gratitude. That's for this 4th house. And of course you can use this if you don't have this going on, but because Venus retrograde brings this energy of the past and has to do with love and has to do with forgiveness and childhood, I put that together for this energy. And for the 3rd house, which is for all of y'all, I forgot to give you the affirmation I have for that. I spill love with every thought, every look, every word. When we speak out of anger, whether it's passive aggressive, there's a tone in the voice, we're sending a message to our nervous system to create more of that negative energy. It serves as a powerful attractor. Our nervous system is part of our electromagnetic magnetism, where we create and draw things to us. So the law of attraction is at work through our nervous system, essentially. So the more we use words that have the type of vibration that we want to bring more of into our lives, the more we can consciously use the power of our system, our actual electromagnetic system, to attract in more positive experiences, even through these challenging times. Okay, so that's Venus retrograde. Now with these eclipses, since we've got these 3 eclipses, my new system for working eclipses, if you've watched my videos for a while, then you know that I used to talk about in depth how these eclipses are likely to affect you within the actual horoscope. But I'm not doing that anymore because the videos get really long and detailed. And so what I've done is I've created an eclipse series that will always be present on my home page. And then at eclipse time, I will just tell you what fields of experience you're going to have this energy in, and then you can see that video for more. But I'll give you just a very brief synopsis, and for details about how I've seen this manifest, like in the field of doing this work, then you can see the eclipses, the eclipse video series if you search for Annie Botticelli on my page, which is also AnnieHelpsYouTV.com. Okay, so this first, we have 3 eclipses. We've got the ending of the Capricorn Cancer cycle, and those eclipses will be in June. June through July. The first one is going to be June 5th. It's a lunar eclipse at 15 degrees of Sag. And as I always mention, the reason we're talking about these sooner than it's June, is because they tend to show up 4, 6, sometimes even 8 weeks before the actual eclipse. So April, May, definitely high time for these manifestations. Okay, so where does that occur? So the early degree placements, most of you are going to have that in the 10th house. But the later you get in your early degree designation, like as you move on the spectrum from 0 to 9 degrees, you start moving into the territory where that energy could be shunted into the 9th house, okay? And the same goes for you middle degree placements. You have it the opposite way. So even though most of you will technically have it in the 9th house, depending on your exact middle degree placement, it could be in the 10th house. But either way, when it's in this place on the line here, it could manifest in either position. Okay, so the late degree friends, you have this very purely in your 9th house at 15 degrees of Sag. However, if your work, this 10th house is the house of work, if your work has anything to do with 9th house types of work, then it could create an ancillary effect back into your 10th house if you have 9th degree or 9th house types of work, okay? So basically, for early and middle degree placements, work, changes in career, and you might be feeling this already, and that's it basically. Things going on with dads. I just went through this myself, unfortunately, where notable things involving dads, for better or worse, can occur. So authority figures, things like that, recognition in your field. But definitely look at the 10th house / Capricorn video, because the 10th house is ruled by Capricorn. So when we're talking about how the energies manifest, it's we use them synonymously. So if you look, early and middle, look on my homepage, AnnieHelpsYouTV.com if you can't find that, and look for the Capricorn or 10th house eclipse manifestation. Okay, and so that video will be all about, with lots of detail, the ways I've seen this manifest. Now, the middle and late degree placements, you're likely to see this in your 9th house, but also we said some of you early can have these whispers there, or even a full-on manifestation depending on your exact placement. And this has to do with teaching, writing, international travel, international business, or other associations. It can have to do with a very hot topic that's going to be coming up more and more is distance learning and distance work, like doing their work from a distance. So you might see this come up as a big thing. Writing, editing, speaking, learning different languages, teaching. So finding an education program, starting an education program, something with your church or your spiritual beliefs, or something having to do with your belief systems in general, like ending a way that you believe and changing it. Your way of seeing life could be under a major change or renovation or whatever you want to call that. But definitely look for, so what you'll find is Sagittarius or 9th house eclipse. Okay, so that's the video that you want to find in the eclipse series on my page, AnnieHelpsYouTV.com. That's my YouTube page. And that will give you lots of details about more, specific things of how I've seen this tend to manifest.
Okay, so definitely look in the notes below this video. If you click the little arrow that says more underneath the video, it will reveal written notes. In those notes, I have the links to my Venus Retrograde video. I have the links to the blogs for Venus Retrograde through the signs and houses. And I also have the link to loomlife.com, which is where you can register for that free class on claiming victory from viruses. And you can also see my other resources, including my course, Becoming a Professional Astrologer. Astrology is always important, but in these times of what the types of things that are going on now, understanding astrology in a different way can be very, very helpful to our own individual peace and process, and for helping others. So if you want to learn to do that, you can check that out at lumelife.com as well, LUME-life.com. And you can see more blogs at anniehelpsyou.com. I have lots and lots of blogs. And at cozybysweetstarlight.com, you can, again, this link will be in the notes underneath as well. You can find written horoscopes by me and astrology kissed blogs, how to use astrology in your day-to-day in wonderful ways. Most of the resources that I create for you are free, so make sure that you tap into those. I only have a very small amount of paid services compared to my free resources, and those are for people who want to go deeper into my teachings and my work. But otherwise, just know that there's so much for you. Just explore the websites that I'm sending you to. So I hope you have a wonderful month. I hope that you can stay positive and make the most of the opportunities that are coming to us through these transits, the big ones and the small ones. Venus retrograde is actually a big one, but it's kind of dwarfed in some ways underneath the titans of the zodiac clashing in these Capricorn placements. But it still is going to have Venus retrograde, even though it's, on this different level than these big guys. It's really going to have a lot of effect on your day-to-day experience during this month and beyond. So I do hope you have the best month possible, and I'll see you soon. Bye.